Hi everyone, it is Dr. Jordan from Pinnacle Chiropractic, your pediatric and prenatal office in Lakewood Ranch, Sarasota area. And today's topic for this video is all about back to school, which it's so crazy that we're already talking about this. I feel like the summer flew by. So as many parents are already seeing all the school supplies in Target and kind of stocking up already, thinking about all of that. As parents, we're also going to start that natural worry for our kids. Are they going to have a good school year? Will they like their teacher? Are they in the same class as their friends? And so many of those worries are just natural for us as parents, but a lot of the times those worries go a lot deeper, and then we start thinking about what if they get ill during the week? I'm not going to have childcare. What if my child's not sleeping well because all summer they've been having kind of a rough time with that, and what is that going to look like when school starts? Or even like, what if my child just, like last year they were having tummy aches before the morning that they didn't want to go to school. What if they do that all over again this year? What if they're getting that anxious worry? Or what if they cry on their first day of school and hold on to my leg and don't want to let me go? And so, of course, we want to help our kids in any way we can. And when we're stressed about school, sometimes that translates to our kids being stressed about back to school. But there's so many things and moving parts that really affect a kid's health. And so as you prep for back to school, you're buying the school supplies, maybe buying uniforms. You're also probably looking into buying some kind of supplements to help your kids stay healthy throughout the school year, so you're not getting phone calls to pick them up with a fever at 10 a.m. when you're at work. There are some basic pillars of health that we talk about in our office. So those pillars, which I'll explain, are going to be the basis of our house, basis of our health. If it were a house, those pillars are like our foundation. They're really keeping us set. They're keeping everything stable, and you can't do more or build more or decorate until those pillars are really, laid and have that foundation. So sometimes we'll give our kids supplements, or we'll give them things to help. We try to do things to help them, but if their foundation is not 100%, if it's not working the way that it should, if there's cracks in one of those areas, then we're going to see issues down the line. So giving them supplements or Epsom salt baths or doing all of the other therapies, activities aren't going to help unless we have this really strong pillar of health, like our house is held up really well. So one of those big pillars we talk about is sleeping. As adults, it's hard to get good quality sleep. I know that people talk about blue light before bed and trying to get 7 to 8 hours, which seems insane for a lot of families, especially if you still have a baby that's up nursing. But for kids specifically, we know that children can have issues with digestive problems, with behavior, with anxiety, depression, and other health concerns if they're not getting really good quality sleep, and if they're not staying asleep, and if they're having trouble falling asleep. So all of those things can affect their day-to-day activities, and especially school. They have to typically sit for a long time at school, follow directions really well. And so a lot of these areas that should be really strong and foundational will start to show cracks because school is a big expectation for them. There's a lot of things they have to meet, a lot of requirements they have to fulfill. And so for kids, it can be super stressful. So sleep is just such a big, important piece of that puzzle. And so it's really important that your kids are getting really good sleep and are able to fall asleep, able to stay asleep, and there's not an underlying issue with sleep going on there. And the next thing is going to be exercise. So this is kind of a hot topic, but back when I was young, we didn't have switches. We didn't have all of the devices, and there wasn't TVs in every room playing. I had a Tamagotchi, so that kind of shows you how old I am, but there wasn't as much expectation for setting screen time because there just wasn't really that as an option. Instead, it was just going outside in the cul-de-sac, kicking the kickball around, playing with the neighbors, raking the leaves, jumping in those by yourself. You just made your own entertainment, and our kids today definitely don't have that as much. One, being in Florida, it's really hot, so getting outside's hard, especially during the middle of the day. And two, not many of us have yards or have the availability that the kids can just go outside and play. And there's also a safety issue. Like, we have to worry about our kids being outside unattended. Our parents' generation always joked about you just got kicked outside and then you heard a whistle and you came running back for dinner. So that doesn't really happen these days anymore. So exercise has really changed for kids. Their physical abilities has changed. How much movement they're getting really affects their brain. And so if we're not getting movement, if we're sitting in front of a TV, if we're sitting in a beanbag chair with our Nintendo Switch, if we're, playing computer games, all these things, it really, really adds up. So there's a really cool group, I don't know the word, for 1,000 hours outside. So for a year to try to get 1,000 hours of outdoor time for you and your kids. And it's really hard. I mean, I have done it last year, and this year I'm also on track to do it again, but it's a lot to try to track it. It's kind of stressful to make sure you're getting enough outside time, but unless you really are motivated to do that, there becomes this point where it's just easier to stay inside. It's easier to let the kids watch screen times, but research shows that the more that kids move, the better their immune response is. The better that their brain can focus, can learn social behaviors. And so when we are not moving, we are losing all of our connection inside our body and outside our body. So the third pillar is going to be eating clean food, which is also a hard thing because our world is just very convenient. So we eat a lot of packaged foods. We eat a lot of things that we can take on the go. We are not getting as much fresh fruit and vegetables. Plus, there is the whole topic of 60 years ago, you could have one apple and have all these nutrients. And today, that would basically be the equivalent of having 6 apples today. So you're not eating an apple and getting all of these great antioxidants and vitamins and minerals because they're not there. And so even if our kids are eating healthy, they're not getting all of the proper nutrients they need. And if they're not eating healthy, if they're picky eaters, if they love living on chicken tenders and french fries, they're not getting the nutrients they need. So trying to really focus on your child's diet is a really big pillar of health. Of course, there are supplements that you can take, but that should not be our answer. So the pillar of health needs to be that we're eating a well-balanced diet. Of course, moderation, 80-20, you're not going to ruin everything if your kid goes to a birthday party and has goldfish, but it just shouldn't be our normal to have packaged foods with trans fat, with seed oils, all of the things that make me cringe, obviously, but that should not be our day-to-day. We should be having whole, grass-fed, organic foods that basically do not have a process to make them. So that's a big pillar of health as well. We also know that food can cause all of these issues in our body's immune system as well, just issues with our digestive system, how well our body's functioning. Food really is medicine for us. So kind of focusing on that pillar is a really big part too, going back to school. And last but definitely not least is going to the chiropractor. So having your nervous system really balanced, really regulated is going to be so vital for your health. And so people don't really realize that you go to this doctor for this thing and then this doctor for this thing, and those doctors might not communicate, they might not talk. You might be getting kind of different advice from everybody because they're focused on one system. And so chiropractic also focuses on one system, the nervous system, but that nervous system basically is responsible for everything in the body. So it's kind of the umbrella that is giving everything else health and wellness and vitality. And so it's how our brain and our body communicate. So if our nervous system is off, if we are stuck in a fight or flight world where everything is life or death, our heart is racing at opening up emails, or our pupils are dilating because we are stressed about a conversation we're having, that's not a sign of health. Your body is not living in a place where it can do the parasympathetic things like resting and digesting, healing, and growing. So a lot of kids get stuck in that fight or flight, typically from birth, but it can be for a lot of other reasons. And so when we are living with our nervous system on that go, 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 fight or flight, everything is going to kill us type of thing, our bodies are just very stressed and not healthy. So there is no way your kid is going to sit in school and be able to focus and be obedient and listen to directions. It's just counterintuitive, and their brain doesn't think that's a priority in that moment. So getting a nervous system based chiropractic approach or chiropractic doctor on your team is really going to be beneficial too, to help set up your children for success in the school year. And the really cool thing is that working backwards, talking about chiropractic, that is also going to help with your kids sleeping. It's going to help with your kids' immune system. It can even help with your kids' picky eating. And so the more that you focus on regulating that nervous system, making sure their body is at homeostasis, it's balanced, then the better off their outcomes are going to be for health, wellness, and then the ability to go through a school year and really be successful. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you know a mom that has kids going back to school, tag them, send this to them. It could just be something to kind of focus on getting our minds away from just buying the markers and the uniforms and focus on like the really more important things that matter. That's our kids' health and wellness throughout that school year, and just making sure that they're doing the best that they can and we're doing the best that we can for them to set them up for success. Have a great day. Talk to you guys soon.